Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is a very special show that we have for you today because I have a very special guest with me today. Now, again, the name of this show is Veteran Care Matters. Now, why is that? It's because we care about our veterans. We're here the fourth Monday of every month at 2 p.m. And again, this is the Awesome Radio Network. And I'm going to bring my very special guest in right now. His name is Toby. And I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll get into why he's here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Toby Bellamy. It says my mic is muted. Do I do anything?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
I'm Toby Bellamy. I'm the Veterans Treatment Court Coordinator here in Pitt County. And we get justice-involved vets who come through the system who have a substance abuse, mental health, or behavioral health problem. And we try to provide VA treatment for them. And where in cases that the VA is not available or the time for the VA treatment is longer than expected, we have outside resources in which we can use to get the same type of care for the injuries or ailments that they may have. So if they come to the courthouse, they will meet with me. I do a screening process, but my program involves them being on probation. So if they come to the courthouse and they're not in need of probation or anything like that, we can't qualify them for our program. But for the ones who are qualified for the program and will be put on probation, as long as they don't have like a murder charge or manslaughter or a sexual assault type charge, they will probably fit the qualifications for us to get them help through the VA and community service as needed. Also, if they come to us and they're homeless, we get to get them through the VA homeless program right now and try to find them housing and other means of income for themselves as a job and things of that nature to get them back on their feet and not be reoffenders.
Well, I want to just bring you back in. So you're talking to your mic, not the computer. That's why we're the way we are, okay?
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now what happened is, you gave them a little information, but now I want to know what made you decide to get in the profession that you are in now.
Well, I'm a 31-year vet. I spent most of my time in overseas in Japan. I'm a Navy vet, by the way. What made me want to come to help veterans was the simple fact that as a command master chief, I always helped my troops or my sailors that was under me. But when I got out, I just found myself in this spiral of what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How can I, be a better person or help other vets? And there was nothing out there at first for me. I went to school and at the Barton College. I graduated from Barton. And then I tried to find VA-related jobs, and I went through a couple of them, but I wasn't hired. Then what happened was the the detention center in Wilson, where I'm from, had some openings, so I applied there. And once I applied there, they said, hey, come on, be a detention officer. So I went to be a detention officer, and about 60 days later, there was an interview for the position I'm at now, Veterans Treatment Court. I applied and it was accepted, and I was more than happy to accept the job because it deals with veterans and things that I wanted to do from the beginning. And that's how I got this job, and that's why I wanted a job helping veterans, and that's how I attained it.
And I'm sure that they're glad that you're there. Now this program, has it always been, or is it a new program?
It's a new program for Pitt County, but there are 6 other counties in North Carolina who has this program.
Now that's good. The thing is that because we are a veteran show, we have different outlets that help our veterans, and this is so important because I know years ago when someone was in the courts. Well, what would happen is the judge would give you a choice of either going in the military or going to jail.
Yeah.
Those were the things back then. But at least now, in your position, you can help veterans that's in the system.
Yes, sir. I think that you put up a valid point there. It used to be that, you come to court and they say, hey, you need to go in the military or go to jail. Well, now if you're a military vet, and we classify vets as someone who had completed boot camp and had at least 1 day of active service, we consider them a vet. Now, in that same breath, that doesn't mean that every vet will qualify for VA healthcare, which you need to qualify for VA healthcare to come into our program. But the advantage to that is that if they have a VA-rated disability, because they don't have at least 24 or serve 24 active months on active duty, they can still qualify for the program and VA healthcare via that.
So, wait a minute, let's back up a second. Now, if they, how long do they have to be on active duty in order to qualify?
Typically, it's 24 months of active duty services qualifies you for VA healthcare.
Okay, but now, let's say that you said 24 months.
Yes.
But, okay, that's really 2 years.
Yes.
But you are in a war zone, and you're over there, you only have 15 months in, and you're wounded, and you come back to the States now. Can you qualify?
Yes, you will qualify because you would have more than likely be rated for VA disability.
Right.
So if you have VA disability from 10% up to 100%, regardless of how much time you spend in, you will qualify for VA healthcare.
Okay, that's right. That's what I want to bring out there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So now that we got that part covered, when do you have like when let me see, how can I put this here now? When you meet with a veteran that's in this court system, right? Do you all have like meetings, group meetings, or individual meetings? How does that work?
First comes the screening. So they come to my office and I have like a 2-hour screening process where I get some basic information from them at the beginning. Next, once I get that, then I get the cause of their problems as far as mental or substance or behavior. And if they qualify via that and they're accepted by the court, then they come to meetings twice a month. Every other Thursday of the month, they come into a court environment where the judge presides over the program, and he talks to them about the progress that they're making based on the treatment plan that was developed with them.
And if they're employed, okay, do their employer have to know about this?
The employer don't necessarily have to know, but the only mandatory requirement that we have in place right now is that they must come to court on those days. So they have to inform their employer that they need those days off to attend court.
Got you. Okay, and that makes sense. And the thing is, this is so important for our veterans out there, because a lot of times our veterans, they just don't know where and who they can go to if they have an issue and they're in the court system. And by you being there, and especially now that, we're on the radio here, now what information can you give them where they can get in touch with you?
If they come to the courthouse, I place signs in all the major fairways of the courthouse. So wherever court you go into, you'll see a sign that says, if you're a veteran, my name is on there and my phone number and how to reach me is on all the signs once you walk into the courthouse. And I also help veterans who have like traffic tickets or information about where to get information about VA benefits and things of that nature. So it doesn't really matter if you're justice involved where you're going to be put on probation, but if you just have a general question and you can't get a hold of the right resources, you can come and talk to me about it. But I have signs all over the courthouse that are pretty large, and they're all in red, white, and blue. So if you see that sign, you can contact me.
Very good. Now, you used the word plural before, courts.
Yes.
So see, I'm not familiar with the courts, I'm glad of that part of it. But how many courts are you involved in, and where are they?
Well, I'm only involved with the Pitt County Courthouse, but there are different courtrooms that hold different venues. You got Superior Court and you got District Court.
Okay.
Those are the courts in which I was referring to.
Okay, got you. Okay. And this is good for our veterans out there, especially their families, because, sometimes the veterans themselves, they don't always do what they should be doing. However, their spouse, or their loved one will guide them in the right direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. And within the program, I think trying to get a family member involved that cares about the member that's in the program is going to be the key to keeping them motivated to complete the program, to see the treatment through that they need.
That's so true, because I know that, even when we try to get veterans, to go to the VA, a lot of times they say, "Oh, I don't need it. I'm doing okay." But I say this here: anyone that has served in the military should go to the VA,
Yeah.
because you don't know what benefits that you can get.
Absolutely. I had a lady just on that come to my office 2 days ago, whose husband had a stroke now. He had served, once I looked him up in the system, he had served like 16 years in the military, but he didn't have any VA healthcare benefits, and which she was looking for now.
Right.
And so when I looked it up in the system, and I gave her the paperwork, and I said, "Hey, you need to take this down to the VA clinic down the street,
Right.
and they can help you further with getting him set up for VA healthcare."
Yeah.
Because based on my knowledge, he would qualify, but I don't press that button. I don't have that
I understand.
ability.
And see, that is so important, because what happened is, I always have a story. Once you get to know me,
Yeah.
I have a story. And I had a brother of mine. I say a brother of mine because it was from the Masonic Lodge. And I used to try to get him to go to the VA. He was a diabetic. He was in the Vietnam era, and he was a diabetic. And I used to tell him, you should go to the VA. Go to the VA. They can help you, do something for you. And when he did go to the VA, again, hard heads make a soft behind. That's what my mother used to tell me, Well, when he went to the VA, now he was losing his eyesight,
Oh, yeah.
And because of that, he did lose his eyesight, but the VA now takes care of him. Not only does the VA take care of him, but the VA takes care of his wife as well for taking care of him.
Yes.
See, a
Yes.
lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
But the VA will pay your spouse, or your loved one for taking care of this veteran.
Absolutely.
And we bring that out because a lot of veterans, the spouses of their loved ones or their partners, they don't know that. And it's so important that we bring that information out to them.
And along that point, a lot of veterans, for some reason, just don't want to go to the VA for anything once they get out, for whatever reason that is. But what they don't understand is that when they become incapacitated, so to
Yeah,
speak,
yeah.
or lose their way somehow, then their loved ones are going to, first place that they're going to come is to the VA to help them.
Right.
But if they had just applied just to see what they could benefit from the VA, you would have less of a problem when there becomes a problem.
Right. And that's what I always say. I always say this here, if you are a veteran, if you just got out today, tomorrow you need to go to the VA and sign up. Because like you just said, Toby, the thing is, once you're in the system, you're always there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you need them, tomorrow, or you need them a year from now, 10 years from now, you're still in that system. And being in the system, they can look you up. I've known people that, applied for health care through the VA, and it took them years and years.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit easier now,
Now,
for us to
yeah.
get what is due us.
Yes.
But this individual, it took him at least 5 or 6 years. But the thing is, this is, I think, is so important for our veterans to know, is that when you do get approved, you get retroactive.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
that retroactive can mean a lot.
Yes.
I know an individual got over $400,000 in retroactive,
Yeah.
only because he was consistent. You can't be inconsistent. And what I mean is, you can't go and apply for it, and then because you're upset, you stop, and then, someone talked to you, and then a year later you start up again. Well, when you start up again, when you go back to that first time you start up, it doesn't count anymore.
Yeah.
It
That's
always
right.
counted
That's right.
from the last time. So just be consistent. Don't give up, because I will tell you, that sometimes people will try to discourage you from being consistent. I know for a fact that when we first moved down here, we went to someone, and they told me that what I was applying for wasn't for me. And this is someone that's supposed to help veterans. You know, they had an office that was supposed to help veterans.
Right.
And for that person to tell me that I couldn't get it, well, my wife told her, because I always go with my wife. My wife said, well, you're not the person to help us.
Right.
And we went someplace else, and we got what we went there for.
Right.
So you got to be aware of when people say no to you.
Absolutely.
You know, because sometimes people say no because they just don't want you to get it. And I tell it the way it is, you know. But you have to say, you know, well, if you can't help me, I'm going to go to someplace else. And there's all type of veteran agencies out here, you know, the DAV, the Veterans of Foreign Wars.
Yeah.
There's so many that will help you. But don't just say someone tell you no, and then
You take that.
you take that.
I think if you have a veteran or you know of a veteran that haven't reached out to the VA to let them know that you're still around and available and there may be benefits for you, they may just need to do it, because in the bigger picture of things, every veteran that informs the VA healthcare that they may need some assistance is another platform for when funding is available. They expand that funding based on the number of people that are in need or who have requested. And if you project out, as Calvin, you when I was talking
Yeah.
before, if you look forward, then you're not only helping yourself, you're helping maybe your son, your daughter, your cousin, or someone in that era that's going to join the military later on and need benefits that because of our actions today, they're going to have it.
Exactly. I have a grandson that's in the Marines now.
There you go.
You know, and you know he's been in like 3 years, and he said he's going to make a career out of it. But by the time he get out, hopefully the VA will be much better than the way it is right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're doing things and playing it forward for the generation that's going to come after us, and I think that's what generations before was trying to do too, trying to improve what 10, 15, 50 years later, the lifestyle back then for us now.
Well, you know, Toby, and that's so true. And you just made me think of another wording, you know, and that was shell shock.
Yeah.
You know, if you go back to my father's time, my father was in the Navy too, by the way.
Right,
You know, and my father-in-law.
All right.
Okay. But what happened, though, is back then when they came out in World War II, you know, a lot of them, like I said, no one is the same when they come back. Well, they did things back then. They act different, you know, and they would just say, oh, this person just shell-shocked.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have the services that we now have today.
Absolutely.
But the thing, though, Toby, is that the ones that persisted is the ones that caused us to get what we have today.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely.
That's why it's so important to be consistent. Don't just say, well, this person don't want me to have it, and then I'm not going to do it. You have to be consistent, and eventually you will get what is due you.
Right. And shell shock back then is called what today?
PTSD.
There you go.
Yes.
It's-
So
it's-
it makes a big difference. You know, and the thing too, Toby, is that, you know, I have to say that under Obama and under Bush, you know, they made it a little easier for I say us. When I say us, I'm talking black folks, because I'm a black man and I know what I went through to get where I am today. And they made it a little bit easier for us to get benefits through the VA. You know, I don't know if you can speak on that because of your job,
Right.
but you know, I don't have a job, so I can speak on what I know. You know, I don't want you to jeopardize anything. You know,
Understood.
But I can speak on it because I've been through it, and I've talked to other veterans that have gone through the same thing. But now under this administration that we have now, what is happening is, like, when they cut over 30,000 jobs from the VA administration, that will affect our veterans 100%. You know, and I'm going to change the topic a little bit, Toby, to PTSD.
Okay.
You know, because I think that topic is so important. You know, and there's a few things that, you know, I just want to go over, because PTSD, you know, that is post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
See, a lot of people use the letters, but I'd like for you to know what those letters mean. And it's a mental health condition that caused by an extremely stressful or temporary or terrifying event either being part of it or witnessing. And see, that's why I say when people are in the military and they go to war and come back, you don't have to be someone that have shot at someone or killed someone, but because you were there and you were involved, that will cause you to have this PTSD. Yeah, and so many times, young folks, those are the ones that's in war. Those are the ones that come back and they have issues. I know people start drinking. I know in my era, not only did they start drinking, they started using drugs. They started doing all kind of things that they didn't do before. So I always say that we have to pay attention to individuals, because when your family member come back from a war or conflict, well, what happened, when I say watch them, because you can see that their character has changed. And once you see that, then you need to either talk to them or talk to someone that can possibly help them.
Yeah, I agree. PTSD is big, and I have a couple of participants in my program that suffer from PTSD, and the treatment that's available out there, it's real, and it will help them if they comply with the what the treatment plan is. Okay.
And that's so important, because what happened is, most people who go through dramatic events may even have hard time adjusting and coping for a short time. You see, because you don't know. Usually when something happens, it doesn't affect you right away. It builds up, and then one day you realize, or your family member or your loved one realize that there's something wrong, but with time and by taking good care of themselves, they usually get better. But when I say get better, that doesn't mean that they're cured of it. They just get better. They can cope. I know people that, they can't sleep at night. They have bad dreams. But what happened is they give them medication, to help them sleep, but they're not over it. They're just coping with it.
Yeah.
And those are the things. And if the symptoms get worse, what do? Well, you have to go to a doctor sometimes and get counseling. Sometimes it's just medication. But these are the things that, we need to expound on and talk more about, because getting treatment after PTSD symptoms arise can be very important to ease the symptoms and help people function better.
Absolutely. And to function for people with PTSD, and there are different levels of severity with it, but when you're around a veteran and they seem really on alert, that may be the cause. It may be because they're a certain level of PTSD that they suffered. And I have a Marine that comes into my office, and he's always on edge, always looking,
Yeah.
easily startled,
Yeah.
and so I approach him differently than I would a different participant. But the bottom line is that, are we providing treatment for you that you are conforming to? Is it helping you?
Right.
And if it's not helping you, then we need to switch. We need to, go a different direction. So those are the things that I look for when they come in and we talk about their treatment and how's it going.
Excellent. You listen to Awesome Radio Network, and you're listening to WECU 1570 AM and 107.5 FM. That's out of Winterville and Greenville. And you're listening to WNOS 1450 AM, 102.3 FM out of New Bern, and WYLTLP 100.3 FM out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I say that every day and every time, because Rocky Mount is so many different other states that have that same city named Rocky Mount. And WBISLP 106.9 FM Espanol. Again, that's out of Winterville, North Carolina. And we are talking with Toby today, and he is giving us a lot of information that we need. But right now we're on the topic of PTSD, and it's so important that we talk about that, because we want our Awesome Radio listeners out there to be aware of the help that they can get. Post-traumatic stress symptoms may start within the first 3 months after a traumatic event, but sometimes symptoms may not occur until years after the event. And that's the thing. That's why it's so important for veterans, because a veteran can go overseas into a war zone and come back thinking they're okay, And then a year later, they start having issues. They can't sleep at night. They're having nightmares. And these are the things then that their family says, well, he was doing okay. So what happened? Well, what happened is he started having this PTSD, and it didn't affect him until sometime later.
That's true. That's true. And that goes back to the families not being in tune with some of the problems that he had or she had when they were in the military. So when these life-altering events started happening, they probably related to current times, not thinking about the military experience and relating it to that. So the best thing to do when changes like that happen is to take them to a professional.
Yes.
And get them diagnosed with whatever it may be that's causing that change.
And you said something that I always like to bring out, female veterans.
Yes,
We don't hear enough about them.
absolutely.
And I always say, we have to talk about the female veterans as well, because they are included in all of this. And the thing general PTSD symptoms are grouped into 4 types: intrusive memories, avoidance, negative changes in thinking and mood, and changes in physical and emotional reactions. Symptoms can vary over time and vary from person to person. And that is so true, because you never know. Everybody, that's why we're so different, because what affects me might not affect you, even though we had the
Absolutely.
same experience. And this is how we look at things. PTSD, I say that everybody needs to just go to the doctor, because like I was talking this morning, we have a mental segment on our show on Mondays.
Okay.
And one of the things that I say, well, if you're having a mental breakdown, you need to go talk to a professional. You don't talk to your loved ones or your wife or none of that. And so my wife says, well, you can't help me? I said, no, I can't help you. I'll get some help for you,
Yeah.
but I can't help you. And that's the way it is with our veterans. Our loved ones, a lot of times they think, well, this person is just acting up. They're not acting up. What they're doing is going through a breakdown. They're going through something that this PTSD is affecting them, and that makes a big difference with them.
And I would add on to the fact that even though my program is Justice Involved Vets, when veterans start having issues, the last thing you want them to do is be justice involved, meaning have a breakdown or have problems that cause them to go out and commit a crime.
Yes.
So to prevent that from happening, or not even prevent, but to put a barrier up so it's less likely to happen, you need to understand why they're doing it, and that means get them seen by someone quickly.
And the quicker they can get help, professional help, is better off they'll be.
Yes,
Because, like I said earlier, as a vet to vet, I can talk to you, but you can't necessarily give me the help that I need.
absolutely. Yeah.
So that means I have to go to a professional, a psychiatrist, psychologist, someone that can physically be there and talk to me through what I'm going through. Because, I can talk to myself, I can talk to my friends, but they don't necessarily know what I'm going through. They might think they do,
Right.
but they really don't. This is why it's so important that we get professional help. PTSD have caused so many people to commit suicide, and it's amazing when you look at it. But we're not going to get into suicide on this day, Toby, but there's a topic that we're going to get into.
Okay.
Because I
Okay.
think that there's certain times of the year where it's more important
Absolutely.
to bring that up.
Absolutely.
And but I will say, Toby, I'm glad that you're here, and hopefully, you'll be back.
Yes, I hope to. Yes.
But the thing is, our veterans, with this PTSD can really be affecting our whole family, because like I said, I have a story. Like my sons used to always want me to tell them about my Vietnam story, my personal story, and I couldn't do it. But eventually, not only was I able to do it through the help that I got, but now I'm on the radio helping other people. And there was a time in my life, there's no way I could do this.
Right.
But I'm doing it now. And for every veteran that we help, it's just one less veteran that we have to be concerned about committing suicide or doing
Yes.
something else.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope that I have success stories in our program, like your success story, and getting help with your issues and all. I can only hope that that's going to happen for us. We're new. We just started in July. Had our first case, our first participants in January. So the course is 12 months long. So
Okay.
it won't be until December to January that we have our first graduates. So I hope that we can have those success stories like yours.
Now, the other thing I guess I would ask, do you have, or do you work with like the DA or any of the lawyers in the courtroom?
Well, I do. I have an ADA and a public defender on my team, and we talk about the cases that are going forth to the district or superior court. Not my treatment court, but
Right.
whatever they are charged with.
Right.
I have a DA and a public defender that we can talk through their cases to see if their cases based on their history, not just what they're offended, but their history,
Right.
would they qualify for the court? So we make that determination, and if they qualify, we are pretty sure that the judge who's ever trying the case will order them to our court, and if he doesn't order them to our court, we can get them in probation to come to our court from there.
See, now that's, I'm glad to ask you that question because
Excuse me.
that's a big deal. I think
Yes.
that you have professional people. You have a lawyer.
Yes.
Two
Two.
lawyers.
Yes.
To work with you on helping veterans in the court system.
Yes, sir.
And that's a big deal because a lot of times veterans, they don't have any help. They don't have a lawyer. They don't have the money. So when you are there and you can help them, I'm sure it helps them also with their PTSD if they have it.
If they have it, yes.
Yeah.
Along those lines, it's interesting that I go to PCDC because a lot of times they're incarcerated there waiting to be for their court date. And
But the back of PC, what is that again?
I'm sorry, PCDC, which is Pitt County Detention Center.
Okay, that's what I okay.
Right. Pitt County Detention Center. I get a referral from either the detention center itself. I have cards that when an inmate comes in, if they're a veteran, they can fill it out,
Okay.
and then they email it over to me. But I was telling this story because when I go over there, as soon as I get the referral sent to me, I'll go and visit the inmate to see if they are interested in the program.
Right.
And it's amazing that every single time, it has not failed, that I go see someone. When I walk in, the first thing they say, "Are you my lawyer?" I haven't seen my lawyer. And it's like, hold on, I'm not a lawyer. Just you filled out this, or the PCDC sent me over a referral, and I wanted to know if you wanted to know more information about my court and how it operates. Now, most of them was off the back say yes because they thinking that it's going to get them out right then.
Yeah.
But as we go through the process, they understand that this ain't a quick fix. You're
Right.
still going to get charged, or you're going to get charged with something, or it's going to be dismissed. And if it's dismissed, that's the best scenario for you, and I hope that happens. But if it doesn't happen and you end up on probation, then we can help you from there.
Excellent. And, the major thing there is the fact that, they don't realize that a lawyer will eventually be there to help them,
Right.
And what I'm going to ask you to do is look at your screen because I want them to see your face.
Okay.
That is the way I want you to see you. Right. Fantastic.
Right.
You want to look at me, okay, but I want them to see your face.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
Very
Got
good.
it.
As long as you talk to the mic, we are doing excellent. It's very good. So now, we've talked about PTSD, and we've been going back and forth with your position and the help that you do for the veterans. That makes a big deal because, in the court system, when individuals go there, and now you go there with your lawyer, so how do they decide, or how is it decided that this lawyer is going to help this individual?
What I've seen for most of the candidates that I've talked to, their lawyers are lawyers that they had previously. So it never changed if it's a public defender.
Okay.
If it's a public defender lawyer that they had for a prior case, that's usually the same lawyer they're going to get. Now, even though I have a public defender and an ADA on my team, it doesn't mean that either one of those are going to be trying all these cases.
Right.
They get to keep the same lawyer they have, but my representative at the public defender's office and the ADA can talk to those lawyers if need be.
Okay.
So, but that's how they get assigned through the court system. But if they have a prior lawyer on a prior case, that lawyer is probably going to be the same lawyer this time. And that happens a lot.
So now, when they have their own lawyer, would you talk to that lawyer or?
Absolutely, absolutely. If most cases, what happen is that when I get the referral, I go directly over and talk to the inmate or call them on the phone. And first thing I ask is, do you have a lawyer? If the answer is yes, then I say, well, I'm going to ask for your lawyer's permission to talk to you because I need to do that.
Right.
But if they don't have a lawyer or don't know who their lawyer is, it's okay. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. It's okay for me to talk to them at the time until I find their lawyer, find out who it is, and I explain the general description of our court and what we can do and how we can help you. And if they're interested, then yeah, I'll track down their lawyer and I'll talk to them.
So what about the judges? Now, is there one particular court that you go to, or is it just different courts that you go to?
Yes,
depending on their case.
Yes, it's different courts. If it's a drug charge or something higher, it's going to be in Superior Court. So yes, I go up to Superior Court and I try to get them before they actually go into court, because Superior Court is different for me than District Court. District Court, every morning before 9 o'clock, when the judges arrive from their chambers, I go in there and I ask, are there any veterans? And if there's a veteran out there, whether they're in their case is going to send them to probation or not is not my purpose. My purpose is to give my card out and tell who I am.
Right.
And so that's what I do. If it's a Superior Court, I don't do that. Superior Court, I would have to catch them before they go into the door and ask them if they're a veteran or not, because that's a more secure area up there. And I just don't want to walk in there and make an announcement that way. I haven't tried that.
So you have a pretty busy schedule.
Well, it seems that way, but I want to connect with as many veterans as I can to get the program up and running.
Right.
Right now we have 7 vets. We can hold 15.
Okay.
We do have about 3 or 4 that we're waiting to go to court. So they may be joining us here by the end of next month.
Okay.
But for right now, we have 7.
But that's a good number. Seven is a good number.
Yes.
If a lot of times I bring the Lord into it, but if you look at the Bible, 7 is a good number. That's all I can say on that one. But it's good. I'm so glad you're here today. To give this information out, because a lot of people might not be aware of the service that you offer at the courts.
Yeah, that's true. But
and the fact that when someone is charged with a crime, where they don't have the weight to go to court, they can see you way before then. Am I right?
yes, but I can't change their court date.
Right.
Yeah, they'll still have to go to court on that day, but maybe by the time that they go to court, there will be a solution in place that both parties can agree on.
Right, because especially if they don't have a lawyer.
Yeah,
See, that would make a difference too, because now you have 2, the AD?
I got an ADA, which is a district attorney, assistant district attorney.
Right. Okay, and then you have another lawyer.
Public defender. Right. So I got one on both sides of the house.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And so now, to start all over again, I guess, we have quite a bit of time left.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to bring up the fact that, when they go to court, and now the judge works with your team.
Yes, if the judge is aware that he's talking to a veteran,
Right.
and both parties are on the same page, then the judge is probably more than likely going to say, we're going to assign you Veterans Treatment Court to get screened.
Okay.
He can't say that they have to mandatory complete it, because if if they don't qualify via the screening, then they just go back to,
Now, what would cause them not to participate?
well, there's a couple of things. One, if they say they don't want to participate,
Right.
then, we can de-screen them right there.
Right.
Number two, if they have in their past anything to deal with a body as far as murder, manslaughter, or
Okay.
anything like that, or anything that deals with children or sex offenders.
Okay.
We don't take any, we can't take
Right.
any of those.
Right.
And if they have some felonies that's classified higher than what the program allows, and I don't know what that level is.
Right.
I leave that to the lawyers.
Okay.
I mean, it's written in my manual, but
Right.
I can't tell you the difference between
Right, I
a G
understand.
felony and an H
Right.
felony. I just couldn't do it.
Okay.
But if they have those felonies in there, they will not qualify for the program. Now, most of that I will know before they go in front of the judge.
Okay.
So if the participant is a candidate for the court, and I have all that information, then the lawyers there will already say that he doesn't qualify or he qualifies if the judge wants to put him in my court.
Okay. So we understand, what will allow them to not be qualified.
Yes.
But what will allow them to be qualified?
Well, they just have to have a substance abuse, mental health, or behavioral health issue, meaning PTSD,
Right.
traumatic brain injury,
Okay.
on drugs,
Right.
or when they're young these days, they say ADHD type thing.
Right, right. Yeah.
So if they're hyperactive and that sort of things, or some other type of disorder, they will more than likely qualify for my court.
Okay. And it doesn't matter how long they've been out of the military.
No. Remember when we talked about earlier, the criteria is being a veteran.
Right.
Being a veteran that is that has VA healthcare or can receive VA healthcare.
Okay. So now, what if this individual does not receive VA health care? Can they get into your program? Being a veteran?
Being a veteran, what I would do to try to help them at first would be find out what their issue is, because like I said, otherwise they will qualify because they would have a substance abuse, mental health, or behavioral health problem.
Okay.
Let's say they have that issue.
Right.
If they have that issue, the next thing I would do, if they didn't qualify for the VA healthcare at the time, is see if their condition was military related.
Okay.
If it's military related, then I would have them put in a disability claim.
Okay.
And then once that claim is approved or comes back positive or negative, then that would determine if they can get VA health care and they can be in the program. Now, that once you put in a claim, it's never going to be 3-4 weeks.
Right,
It's going to take
exactly.
6 to 8 months.
Exactly. If
So
not longer.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. But if they're on probation, let's say for 36 months,
Right.
then that 8 months is not going to be a problem for them.
Okay.
They just won't be actively in my program,
Right.
but we can be on hold until we get the results back.
Get the results back. Now, but if they are not receiving any benefits and they have never signed up for at the VA for anything, how will this veteran benefit from your program?
Well, they can come in and I can give them all the information that you and I have already discussed,
Right.
or where to get the information for the needs that they have, and that's how I would benefit them. You can come to me, and if I can't answer your question, I'm still one of those people who will try to get the answer and get it back to you. That because you're not in my program doesn't mean anything. You're a veteran, so let me try to help you.
And that's the key, because there is so many programs out there for our veterans, and we just need to make them aware of it.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, the veterans say, well, there's no program out there for me. But all you got to do is get in touch with Toby, or you go to the different agencies out there. The state has a veteran organization that will help veterans.
Yes.
Then you have, like I said before, you have the Vietnam
VFW.
veterans, you have the DAV, you have so many other veteran organizations out there that can help our veterans. And that's why we have this show, Toby,
Yeah.
because all our objective is to help veterans.
Okay.
And if we can help them through your system or just word of mouth, that's what it's all about. You know,
Absolutely.
we want our veteran family to know that, my spouse is not feeling well, even though they've been out of the military for 50 years or 40 years or 30 years. Well, can they go to the VA?
Yeah,
Yes, they
yeah.
can go to the VA, and the VA will sign them up. And because I always say this here, Toby, the VA is not going to come to you.
That's right.
You got to go to them.
You're gonna have to go to
You
them.
know, and once you go to them, now it's up to you to be consistent, to sign up, because sometimes they might tell you that they can't help you. But don't say, I'm going to take a no.
Right.
I used to be in an organization where they said, we used to go around and sell electricity. And if you got 10 no's and 1 yes, that yes meant more than those 9 no's. So
Yeah.
it's so important that when you go to the VA, don't just continue saying, I'm going to not do it because this person says something. No, you have to be consistent. And I've noticed someone, we got listeners here that type in. I'm going to give the phone number out again in case someone want to call in, and that is 252-756-2008. If you want to call in and be part of the conversation, we would love to hear from you, because we have someone that said you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give out their name because they might not want us to give out their name. I don't give out names unless they say it's okay.
I understand.
But the thing is, we have to do the work to
Yes.
get what we want. They're not going to just give it to us. And that's why it's so important to continue. Once you sign up with the VA, continue.
I'm going to quote Stuart Scott. He said, when you're tired and you want to give up, let someone else do it for you.
Exactly.
That's the way you have to treat this system sometime too.
Exactly.
You get tired and you need someone else to do it. Have someone else do it for you.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
And we remember I told you before, we have listeners from all over.
Yes.
Well, someone is listening to us today from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Woo, Cincinnati.
And we thank you for listening. We appreciate that very much. And hopefully, your veteran, that you're involved with, hopefully they get the services and the help they need if they need anything. But above all, make sure they go to the VA and sign up if they haven't done that already.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is why this show is so important, because we want our veterans to be aware, and their spouses and their family to be aware. Because sometimes, veterans, they don't have families. They are all by themselves. And sometimes they just live in a room where they rent a room someplace. But we want you to be aware here, at Austin Radio, that we care about our veterans. That's why we have this show every month, to make sure that someone out there will hear us and possibly do something about it, and that's the important part. We really care about our veterans. And Toby, the thing about our veterans is that they love this country.
Yes.
Because so many of us, we volunteer, to go in the military,
Right.
to go fight for this country,
Right.
And when we go and come back, we want what we deserve.
Yes.
And my opinion is, if you go and join the military, I don't care if you just stay in Cincinnati, Ohio for your whole time. Well, what happened is, when you are out of the military now, you should get the benefits that you deserve.
Absolutely. And I got a place in my heart for the homeless vets, because there's a large number of homeless vets. And we talked about PTSD on your program today. And can you imagine being homeless and having a mental health problem? There is a program that the VA has. We have a program for homeless vets. So if you know a homeless vet, or have them get to the nearest VA center, because there is a homeless program that was established to try to help these veterans. So I hope that, this gets out to people, and if they see a veteran in need, they contact the nearest VA.
Well, not only that, Toby, but I don't know if many vets are aware that these city buses, You can ride these city buses free as long as you show your military ID.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
No, I didn't know that, but I will definitely pass that along.
yeah. As long as you show your military ID for these city buses, you can ride them.
Okay.
And see that makes a difference too, because a lot of times our veterans, they don't have the money or the car fare, to get to where they need to go. But as long as they have that military ID, that VA ID, then it doesn't cost them anything. I mean, it costed them in the past to get that.
Right.
But today they can ride for free, and that's something in Pitt County.
Roger. Great.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I will
Yeah.
definitely pass that along.
That's something that I always say, that we have to give out information for our veterans, because I'm sure a lot of them didn't know it,
Yeah,
But
I'm-
every once in a while, I put that I call that a jewel.
Jewel, yeah.
I put that out there for our veterans to be aware of, And, again, you listen to the Awesome Radio Network, WECU, 1570 AM, 107.5 FM out of Winterville and Greenville, and WNOS 1450 AM, 102.3 FM out of New Bern, and WYLTLP 100.3 FM out of Rocky Mountain, North Carolina, and WBISLP 106.9 FM Espanol, again out of Winterville, North Carolina. Toby, we've had a great show today, and we still have a few minutes to go. So we're giving out some good information.
Absolutely. I think that ID, having your ID to ride the city bus may work in more counties than just here.
You're probably right, but see, you don't know until you've asked.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
see, this is the thing. If people at the city council would go and put this information out, I know the VA had started putting it out at one point. This is how I learned about it. But then it's like the city council in different counties will put this information out, because I'm sure they could do the same thing.
Absolutely, it could. That's good.
Then I got one little beef that I have to put out there, but this has nothing to do with the VA.
Okay.
It has to do with the city council in Pitt County. They doing a lot of work over at the town commons here in Pitt County. Well, my question to you, and I put this question out there once before, and no one had really gotten back to me, is the fact that before they started working over there, they had taken the handicap signs out of the town commons and put them on the street. And for us veterans that are handicapped, it was easier for us to get by the water in town commons. But now I don't know what they're going to do. I just think and hope that they put the handicap signs back in there. And we got this person again says, good information, another reason to get to carry their ID.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. See, again, this is why we're here, Toby.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to let you give out. You have 1 whole minute now to talk about anything you want to talk about.
I would talk about the fact that if being a veteran or caring about veterans is something that you're passionate about, then don't just start with the ones you know. Start with the ones you don't know, and try to get them some information that could help them also, because you never know what when you say something or give a program out that the VA has to a veteran and they don't know about it. Clothing allowance that the veteran may qualify for, and he didn't know he qualified for clothing allowance. So just let people know the information about veterans treatment, veterans health care, veterans assistance is out there. And you can find most of it at the VA facility, VSO or the VA hospital or VA clinic. But if you want more information, just talk to someone in those positions and maybe they'll be able to help you.
Well, and you just made me think of a point too. The Durham VA, they have a complete room there where they give out clothing and different items to veterans. They have items there for female and males. So this is information that we need to be aware of, and check with your local VA in your community, your county, to see what they're doing. Again, you've been listening to Veteran Care Matters. We're here the fourth Monday of every month at 2 p.m. So we'll see you next month. So see you then. Have a great month. God bless.
And I'm proud to be an American.